Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar with Ensemble Liaison. I'll hand over Tim Young to do some proper introductions in just a moment. But before we start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on all of the lands in which we are meeting today, both in Melbourne and around Australia, as I know a few of us are also interstate. In my case, on the banks of the Darebin Creek, it is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Today we have Ensemble Liaison with us to tell us all about their journey as an ensemble since their first series in 2006 through to the activities that they are undertaking today. They've become a mainstay on the Melbourne chamber music scene and indeed on the Australian chamber music scene, and it'll be fascinating to get some insights into what they've learned along the way in their careers as well. But without any further ado, I will introduce Tim Young, our own Tim Young, pianist from Ensemble Liaison, to the screen to introduce our other guests and give us a bit of an introduction as well.
Thanks very much, Tim. And thank you very much to everybody for logging in, wherever you might be. And so I have my Ensemble Liaison hat on today. And it gives me great pleasure, of course, to introduce my two dearest friends and colleagues and partners in crime, David Griffiths and Svetlana Bogosavljevic.
Hi, Tim.
Hi. Hello. And for those that don't know, Svetlana and David are not breaching COVID regulations. They are actually husband and wife and live in the same house. So they just thought I'd clarify that. So look, putting this webinar on has been a lot of fun, and it was nice to reflect just for a moment on what we've done over the years, and taking a moment to look back at how things went the way they did, and perhaps shed some light on the things that we've learnt on our journey. One element I think we can all agree on is that we've had a lot of fun doing it, and our desire to make music over the last 15 years has certainly not waned, and if anything, I think our bond as a trio has only strengthened, which is a really nice thing. So what we've done today is just put together a series of postcards, if you like, from our journey that might spark some interest, and hopefully some questions from you regarding collaborations or programming or arranging, working with composers, and in general just playing chamber music with a really wide variety of instrumentalists and genres. So I think I might hand it over to Dave and Svet now, and perhaps you could just talk a little bit about how we came together.
Yes. I don't want to take over all the time. I'll just end up talking the whole time. But thanks, Tim. Yeah, we like Tim was saying, it's been really fantastic to get together and actually reflect on the last 15 or 16 years and all the exciting things we've done. And it's been really fun, especially when we can't actually play together. But so how did we get together? It was back in 2004, Svetlana and I met, and we clearly realized that we shared a love for not only each other, but a sort of a desire in making chamber music in a similar way. You know, I think, as you've all known, you need to be on the same page with people that you want to play with if it's going to work. And clearly we felt that was going to be the case with us. So we decided we wanted to form an ensemble, and it would make sense for the third member to be a pianist. So we went on the hunt for a pianist. And Tim was already at ANAM at that time, and Svetlana had worked with Tim in Sydney while Tim was in Sydney, and Svetlana used to live in Sydney. And we asked Tim just to join us for one concert, actually, just to sort of try him out, if you like. Not that we told him that. And what was interesting, I still remember we were playing, our first concert was for an ABC live radio broadcast. It was a series that used to call Sunday Live. They don't exist anymore, sadly. But we were playing Brahms Trio, of course, which is...
Yeah, remember, that's where my spike flew. The opening of the Brahms Trio. And this is like the big moment of our first concert. And I start going the opening and my spike just goes. Do you remember that?
I remember that very well. Yeah. And so she played two notes, the spike slipped.
Stopped.
She stopped, she got the cello and went smack into the ground, and I was like, and then she started again, and it was beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, we digressed. I remember the very first rehearsal was at ANAM actually, and we played for 5 minutes the Brahms Trio, and I just looked at Svetlana and I was like, yes, this is perfect. You know, it was right away, we knew, we just had this sort of connection, and that, that's how it all began.
And perhaps just Svetlana, I think you should answer this question: how we came about with the name Ensemble Liaison.
I'll try and make it very short, but it was actually my mother. She was an extraordinary pianist herself, and she was a chamber musician. Didn't like playing solo at all, which is very unusual. So we were sitting down and thinking we need a name for this trio, and then she said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And we didn't want to just play as a trio. We always, from the word go, we wanted to incorporate other musicians, other instruments. And she said, well, how about liaison? Because that's basically liaising with each other, so musical connection. So that's how it all came about.
Yeah, and I think the initial concerts, of course, were us as a core trio, and it led to obviously duos, but then of course the collaborative side to it became an important part to what we did. But perhaps look at just at this stage. What if we just play a quick snippet? This is in deepest darkest lockdown last year. We did one of these concerts to nobody, and we did a full recital, didn't we, with the Brahms trio? We did the Novacek, and a piece of my own. So I think this is a quick snippet from this particular broadcast. And of course, that's one of those extraordinarily awkward situations, isn't it? When you finish playing, and of course, there's no audience.
Silence.
We're all getting good at that now.
Yeah, we're getting
Not
quite
speak for yourself now. No.
Well, I have to say, so Tim's, subtly just put that in there, but on that program, we did record Tim's first ever composition for our ensemble, a fair release fantasy, and it's still up there on
beautiful.
YouTube. It's really
It's
fantastic.
excellent.
Amazing. I absolutely loved it.
That was a lot of fun. So, I mean, obviously we didn't have a specific knowledge of where we were going to go, but that we did know that collaboration was going to be a major focus of what we did. So it was then that we embarked upon our series, and perhaps you guys can talk a little bit about our first guest or guests.
So we in the very first series, like we've alluded to, we knew that we wanted to create a series, and we called it Ensemble Liaison and Friends, because we didn't want it to be just about us, because after 2 or 3 concerts, we might run out of things to play, and audience might get a bit sick of hearing us. So we wanted to bring in that liaison element on essentially every single concert we played on this series. And so when we programmed the very first concert, our series started at it was called the BMW Edge back then, the Deacon Edge now in Fed Square, which doesn't have a great acoustic, but it's, the ambience and is absolutely fantastic. The MRC didn't exist then yet. But anyway, our first guest was violinist Wilma Smith, who's a long-time friend and collaborator with us. And that was a fantastic, you know, as we'll talk about later, we had a lot of wonderful violin guests over the years because that instrument lends itself beautifully with this combination of instruments. But another guest that we had very early on was the wonderful singer Peter Commonwright. And that particular concert, we won't talk about every single concert we've ever done, but the reason I want to... There's too many. But the reason we wanted to talk about that particular program is it was a real memorable program working with a singer, which is a very different experience, not only for the singer, but also for us. They're used to having just a pianist or an orchestra with a conductor. But a singer, an operatic singer in a chamber music setting is an interesting challenge. But that was a really wonderful, memorable concert where we performed Mahler's Rückert Lieder, which is just 5 of the most stunning songs ever written by anyone. If you don't know them, then you need to go listen to them in about 90 minutes. And Peter suggested we arrange them, so Tim and I did arrange them, and the arrangement was, well, I mean, it seemed to be very successful and really, really beautiful, and that sparked a whole. I guess my point is a lot of the things we've done along the way will lead off different channels of interest into future things. So certainly the concert with Peter was so successful, it made us think, okay, what other singers can we work with, and what other repertoire can we arrange for our ensemble? So that was quite an important moment, I guess, in our development.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, well, maybe this is a golden opportunity to have a little listen to a recording we have with the soprano Emma Matthews, and here we're doing some Bellini, and this is from La Sonnambula.
Awesome.
It's nice to see it back again, isn't it? She's such a wonderful singer, of course, and personality. Just hearing the way that the audience just responds is incredible. Yeah.
I was just going to jump in because, David, before you mentioned in passing the difficulty of working with an operatic singer and a chamber ensemble, and looking at some of the collaborations you've done, you know, Emma, who we've just seen, Peter Commonwright, Fiona Campbell, Greta Bradman, Roderick Williams, you've kept going back to it. So what were those challenges, and I guess why did you keep coming back to that as a collaborative medium?
So what like, we love singers, right? So this is not anything negative about them at all. Like you said, they're so expressive and it's so wonderful. It's a whole nother element. But like, what I guess I was alluding to is, for instance, when you're playing with singers who are used to the operatic stage and they're used to having a conductor, you know, really very much directs them through everything. It was so interesting. I think the first time, especially, I mean, honestly, Peter and Emma, I mean, all of them are quite similar. They'll say, don't follow me, don't let me slow down, keep me going. So then you try and do that, but then they just slow down anyway, for example. And so what happens is, for us as chamber musicians, I'm sure everyone out there has experienced this, when we're playing, like, we're so attuned to listen to each other and to react to each other all the time, right? So if I start slowing down, Tim's just going to follow me and go with me, and vice versa. Like, we're always tuning into each other. And so when we have a singer come in, we cannot help just following them around. That's what we do. But they don't necessarily want us to do that. And so that was initially one of the challenges, is trying to sort of just go through the process of achieving the final musical result that we all want, but we're used to coming at it in different ways. So yeah, it's that, you know, and we all got better at that, you know, over the years.
Yeah, I just want to add that, you know, being a string player, obviously we do string quartets, we do piano trios, but it's so nice to branch out, because we learn so much from other forms. As a string player, I mean, how many times have you all heard breathe? And string players do forget to breathe. And working with the singer, working with the wind player, you have to. So I grew up with my mum, who was an amazing chamber musician, and she always used to say to me, go and you know, try and learn how to sound like a piano, to have the same articulation, to think about the phrasing like a singer, to, you know. And I think it's incredibly important as it is for all of us to play string quartets and piano trios. I think we need to branch out, and there's some wonderful music, like, or, you know, heaps of it. So yeah.
I mean, certainly, you know, these collaborations, we've learned so much from them, consciously or subconsciously, and they've shaped really who we are. And I think we can't go without mentioning another one of our collaborators, which is Nemanja Radulovic, who's been such a wonderful colleague and friend to us over the years, and you know, has a very special connection with us. And perhaps, Svet, you could divulge a little bit of that.
So I really, really passionately wanted to bring someone from Serbia, where I'm from, and I really wanted to develop some sort of relationship, because David and I were there 3 months at one stage, and we taught there and stuff, and the people are wonderful. So I've got a lot of friends, obviously, and I have always heard about Nemanja. Since he was a little kid, he was amazing, and he won some big competitions. And a good friend of his, Suzuki, who is not Japanese, he's Serbian, basically told me about him, and I said, let's give it a go. And I literally just got his phone number and I called him, and he lives in Paris, and I said, hi, I'm such and such, and he goes, oh yeah, I heard about you. And I said, do you want to come to Australia and play with us? And that was in 2012, first time. And it was a big project for us, considering we were running the thing ourselves, trying to get the funds to bring someone like that over, with the help of the Serbian embassy. So we basically met, he came, and we never looked back. I mean, we have connected with him. I think the connection is stronger than with any other. Yeah.
We've had, I mean, we had
friend
him
that we had.
We had him 4 times now in total. He's come 4 times, and he's, I mean, you'll see, I mean, you might have even heard of him, or you can look him up. I mean, he's a rock star. He's a Deutsche Grammophon recording artist, and in demand all over the world. And the funny thing I found really amusing is, I think maybe after the 3rd time, a friend of your mother's actually was the artistic director of an orchestra in Austria, who was trying to book him to play a concerto with their orchestra. And he was sort of saying, we can't get him. He doesn't have any time. How is it that he's got time to fly to Australia to play with Ensemble Liaison, but he doesn't have time to play with my orchestra in Austria? And he just did it because he wanted to. And I guess that was that special connection that we had. Yeah. He just sort of kept coming back.
Yeah. And it was getting more difficult, because over the course of 9 years, he became more famous, and he signed contracts with big agencies, which meant for us, we would have, it was much more difficult to get him and to organize everything. But nevertheless, and actually last tour with him was really our last proper year when we played before COVID, and the last major thing that we did before COVID.
I'll just play a little, might be a good opportunity to play a little clip. This is an arrangement that David and I made of the Revel Tsigan, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Yeah, he's an unbelievably charismatic performer.
And I have to add, on our YouTube channel, there's a couple other clips that we didn't include in this, but there's one, I think it was, I don't know which one it was, but we did a piece that was sort of written for us by a friend of Nemanja's, that included a very famous Serbian folk tune embedded in the piece. And we did it as an encore. And of course, half the audience in that concert was Serbian. And in this encore, it's the poly, da dum dum da dum da da dum da, whatever. So the audience starts clapping along in the encore in this time, and it was hilarious. It was like, I think all the Australians were looking around going, why are they clapping like this? It was hilarious.
Yeah, the piece is called Niška Banja.
Niška Banja, yeah. So, but we've had so many good times with him, that's for sure.
Yes, and he always stays with us.
Yeah, he stays with us. We drink together, eat together. And a friend of ours, a very, very good friend of ours who supported us a lot with ideas and other connections over the years, said, I've got an idea for you for next year. So in the very next year, we teamed up with one of Australia's leading puppeteers, Peter Wilson. And we were so lucky to get him. I mean, this guy is extraordinary. I think he was a part of the closing, artistic director or something of the closing ceremonies of the Sydney Olympics or something. I mean, he's huge, but
his puppets were in the ceremonies.
Yeah, he's amazing. But through our mutual friend, we met him. We said, hey, do you want to do this? We have no money, we have no budget, but there's just this 1 month, and he just happened to be free for 1 month, and he liked us and he said yes. And it was hilarious. So we created this puppet show with chamber music, and the whole process, again, I know we're running out of time, but Tim and I went round to his apartment, and we used to...
I did too.
Did you go there as well? And we had to sit around and
listen to music.
I don't know if we meditated, but yeah, we were...
No, we didn't meditate. We just he needed to play us all the music that he thought we should be doing it. And then because he has to have a story.
Yeah.
He has to create a story. He has to create the puppets. He has to, so it's, and we need to bring the music to the story, and we need to find music that he feels comfortable with. So that was just to find what we're going to do was the process number one. So
and without even knowing, I mean, we created we programmed it like a normal chamber music concert. So there were like 2 40-minute halves almost of music. And he choreographed puppets to the entire thing. But then he just kept saying, oh my God, I can't believe we've done such a big thing in such a short amount of time with no money. He kept going on about the money. And it was so funny. But we didn't know. We were just doing what we do it in the way we would normally do it.
We didn't know that normally his stuff costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
He worked on the King Kong musical, $10 million budget for Broadway, I think, So anyway, he was used to big budget stuff. But anyway, so maybe you want to play a bit of this clip.
Yeah, we'll play a little bit. So, I mean, I just wanted to pick the opening because I thought the opening was really cool, the way that we became part of the set. So we actually programmed, this is Arvo Pärdt's Spiegel in Spiegel with clarinet. And then this moves on to... Well, the large part of our programming was I think we did the Moravec Tempest Fantasy.
The Moravec Tempest Fantasy, yeah.
And then we arranged Peer Gynt's suites, both of them. So this is snippets from both. I still remember trying to play while they were literally pulling me back with the skulls at this. Rather awkward.
And that was before your iPad, so you had Anna turning your pages
Yes.
still.
Right, yeah.
Poor Anna was like, what?
No,
Yeah,
that was...
it was a lot of fun.
Any closing things? There's a nice question here at the bottom of my email that says, you've been together for 15 years. What keeps you going? That seems like a nice kind of sentiment. You've probably all touched on it a little bit, but maybe Tim, you first. It kind of seems like a nice
Well, I think
sentiment.
it's a 15-year-old marriage, really, a musical marriage. And I always say that a relationship of any kind will survive. You can fight, you can have arguments, you can have disagreements, but if your essence of what you believe and what you're passionate are the same, you will always find a path to get together and agree on something.
And so I'm going to jump in, as Tim actually mentioned right at the very, there's our dog. As Tim mentioned right at the very beginning, and this is true, and I when you've played together for such a long time, you don't actually even sometimes realize how amazing it is, that connection that you develop, that you don't know it's happening, and only time can create that. You can't do that by just rehearsing a lot in 1 month. It's something that happens over 15 years. And the example I give is it's sort of like when we go off, we all of course go and play with other people. And when you go and play with other people, sorry, our dog's making noise. You then realize how good you have it, perhaps. And of course we love playing with other people, but it's a different thing. And sometimes maybe we get irritated with each other. Of course, like a marriage, you're going to sometimes have little fights and disagreements and things. But then you go play with someone else, as I like to say, you go and have an affair, and then you come back to your marriage and you're like, oh yeah, this is really good. Like we can play this Brahms trio, and we don't even have to, like, it's so natural and organic the way we play it. We've played it so many times that we know exactly what each other is going to do at any given time. We can be spontaneous, we can react, and that's what keeps us going. And because we absolutely love and appreciate that what 15 years of playing together can do. And we're really lucky we've been able to stay together, because I think it's pretty uncommon for an ensemble to keep together for this long, because the practicalities of people moving around, or you don't make enough money for it to be a full-time job, so you need to all have other jobs, and it makes it difficult. But we're so lucky that we've been able to stay together.
Sorry, our dog, I told him it's an hour and a half, and here he is.
So, Tim, did you have anything to add in there?
Oh, look, I think there's an amazing sense of trust that we have, mutual respect. I mean, I think these fundamental things, humility, I mean, they're all important, I think, ways of describing, the affinity that we have is because it's based on these factors. And I think fundamentally we just love making chamber music together. And that's one of our favorite sayings, really.
Sorry, I was just muted because of Archie, but I was just saying, yeah, I love, often we get together, rehearse, and I'll just say, I love playing chamber music with my friends. That's, I think that was one of our first sort of taglines on our brochure back in 2006, and it's been a bit of a running joke for 15 years. But it's true. And actually, the other thing is all our guests, all our collaborators, they have to be our friends. We have to like them. We have to get along. And as we've said before, they'll often stay with us, eat with us, drink with us. That is crucial. Absolutely crucial. Don't play with people you don't like.
It's been wonderful to get an insight, I guess, into the life of a 15-year-old ensemble too. It's, as you said, it's not something we get to do every day. And Tim, thank you as well for all the work you've done on pulling the examples together in videos and giving us these postcard insights into what you guys have done and achieved over all that time too. I'm going to leave the webinar open for a little bit longer. So just, you can see there's some lovely comments coming through in the chat there. Feel free to turn your cameras and mics off unless you've got any closing things to say. I'll close it off in a couple of minutes. But thank you.